Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, November 14th. We are already on the Asian account, but I need to do some Monster Hunt bosses and then I could potentially get a Druid or Hunter victory and then we'll be done and we'll just be playing ranked at that point. So Dungeon Run, no. Monster Hunt is what we'll be doing. So let's hop in here. Just continue. Upgrade this and put it in here. This minion survives. Getting Divine Shield. Deal 10 damage. I'll get this Exterminate card. That sounds interesting. What am I playing? Jades, it looks like. Secrets. Oh, pirates. I'm gonna take Copycat. And we'll hop in here. So we still have a ton of games to look at. I don't know. The balance is very off, certainly. Like, Mondays are turning into kind of bad days to cover news because nothing's really out. And then Wednesdays are turning into the really long days. And then Fridays are turning really long and they shouldn't be long at all because nobody's watching on a Friday usually. Let's, instead of complaining about it, let's just start covering the games. We have a game called Noble Crusade and it looks extremely zoomed out and pretty generic in the color palettes and the animation style. I am definitely not seeing anything here that makes me even really understand what this is. It kind of feels like it's a Diablo clone, just done very, very poorly. Yeah, top-down twin-stick shooter style game. I recently watched a speedrun of Diablo 2 and you know, watching that speedrun and seeing how short it could be, like less than 2 hours to play Diablo 2, almost inspires me to want to go back and play Diablo 2, except for the fact that I have a little bit more sense than that, and I do realize that that's the speedrunner, and it would still probably take me, if I was playing legitimately, 20 to 60 hours to play one storyline. As for this game, Noble Crusade, it's not making it to the wish list. Let's see. Oh, I could echo this 3 times. Wow, you just save that till the end of the game and you're perfectly fine. Next we have a game on Steam called Jump Jump Mania, which clearly is a low effort. Like, it looks like it's just a single screen jumping over things infinite runner game. Total garbage, 59 cents discounted. Very low effort name.
I'll give it a shot.
Welcome to my web.
Next we have a game on Steam called Antox and the Free Radicals, which sounds like some gibberish fake medicine names. And it looks like garbage, very low effort game too. Man, I'm really starting to hate games that have just all this neon color to it. Does nobody understand color anymore? Or are my eyes just going bad? Like, seriously. Do something better for your color palette. Guess we do this. And then I guess we see what we can get back.
it a shot.
So of course that game, which is I believe $8.49 is what they're asking for right now, discounted. Yeah, of course that's not making it to the wish list. In fact, we may have a shorter experience here if I just keep running into really obviously bad games. Let's see.
I'll give it a shot.
Next we have a game on Steam called Space Jump Cat, another very low effort game. Let's see, 99 cents with no discount, yeah right? No need. Whenever you play from a different class, game
This guy's toast.
Okay. Next we have a game on Steam called The Sea Between, which looks like an RPG Maker game. Yeah, nothing here that would inspire me or make me want to play this game for a second. $4.99. And I feel like I'm being pretty cruel, but I really have just run into a run of really bad games. Let's see.
Hey, lights out.
Do I need to do anything? Oh, well I guess I could just do this right here and win. So I could have like really weak characters on my side, kill my 3 characters and do a lot of damage. Wow, I hadn't even thought of it that way. And we'll take these.
Ivan was once one of yours. Now he is mine.
I'm not 100% sure that I've actually won with this character. So, like, maybe I'd actually make some progress on the monster hunts. Not that I really care, it just gives you a card back. I got it done on my main account.
You're on my list, Greymane, and your father's next.
See, I really haven't even been paying attention to what these characters' abilities are. Put a random secret from your deck into the battlefield. Alright. We'll start with something basic then. Next we have a game on Steam called Pixable. Clearly a very low effort shooter, one screen game of some sort. Like a Robotron 2048 clone, Asteroids clone. $2.54 discounted. 50 handcrafted waves. Not good enough when your graphics look terrible and you have a solid red background for some insane reason.
Give it a shot.
Shadow Step. Could do that with this one later. We could play this. Pose. And then attack with this.
I'll
And
give it a
this.
shot.
And then play this, I guess. Next we have a game on Steam called Acropolis the Arcade Cage. Now I've seen a logo that looks like this, but it was not on a game that looked like this. Which so I don't know if I'm just thinking of some other game's logo that looks somewhat like this. This looks like a real-time strategy style game, maybe a management style game. It looks very simplistic and very ugly. And I like kind of the pastel color palette of the different regions. That's slightly interesting, but there's nothing else here that looks interesting, and it's $9.99, which is asking a lot. So let's attempt to attack here, because we want to get rid of this character.
Talk about a nice suit.
I'll give it a shot.
And we can
First kill.
continue to do damage. Yes, that's safe to do. Yeah. So Acropolis is $9.99, no discount. That's not coming to the wish list. Game of Sutra has a news story. I was a little afraid we weren't going to have any news stories in this recording, but we'll have a little bit. Rob Dyer, D-Y-E-R, has been hired as the COO of Capcom USA, which might be a good move for Capcom, because Capcom probably does need to think about increasing its, let's see, it needs to think about increasing its game development and supporting its Capcom lineup of games like Dead Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom fighting games, things like that. Rob Dyer spent the last 5 years working as a marketing consultant and analyst, alongside recently acting as the CEO of merchandising firm he co-founded called FanKicks. Prior to that, Dyer had leadership roles at a number of game companies, including Sony, Zynga, and Tapjoy. This is a great example of it's not what you know, it's who you know, particularly in the video game industry. That people get jobs most definitely from that factor of knowing people.
I'll give it a shot.
Fire everything!
Keep on playing. End the turn.
You are not welcome here.
Because his role at Capcom, according to Game of Sutra, will see him heading the company's publishing businesses in America, a position Capcom USA CEO Kichiro Yorada says will help the company steer the success of Capcom-owned franchises like Monster Hunter and Street Fighter in the West. Which, kind of in a weird way, the success of Monster Hunter and Street Fighter and Capcom games, they don't need really somebody in charge of making Western people play Japanese games. In my opinion, they need people who will and are capable of making Capcom make more games. That's quite the point here. Is what we're probably seeing, if I was to guess, is Capcom, they abandoned Dead Rising, they abandoned any game that is slightly Western, and they're circling the wagons towards being a Japanese company that only makes Japanese games. Maybe that's what's right for them, maybe it's not. That's something I would have to really think about before I could make an opinion there. But let's see, freeze on trap. Darn it. I was hoping that would.
Golems are a girl's best friend.
I was hoping I would be able to play this a couple times. Oh well. As far as Capcom, Street Fighter and Monster Hunter probably won't be enough to make it stay as a successful to make it a successful company. Maybe it would, maybe it won't. I think particularly for Capcom there's a lot of licenses that they need to come back and remaster and rethink about. They need more tentpole projects, whether they're more Japanese tentpole projects or Western tentpole projects. Yeah, I have not won with any of these on the Asian account, and I probably never will, because I'll never put in the amount of time and effort to get them done. I'll just continuously play them to get those daily quests, which you still get those even after you've played all of the single player expansions. You're still getting the same daily quests. I'm just gonna hold on to all these cards. GameIndustry.biz has a article. It's quote, "We have the finished package and they just took it from us," end quote. How CBE Software recovered from the Lace Mamba fiasco. I have never heard of the Lace Mamba fiasco, so I'm interested here. It says, when Brighton-based publisher Lace Mamba defaulted on its payments to CBE Software in 2013, development duo Jan Kavan and Lukas Medek nearly quit the industry entirely. But 5 years later, they are leading up to the launch of the most ambitious project yet, with financial backing from Creative Empire and Epic Games. I have not heard of this team.
I'll give it a shot.
Let's see. Kavan and Medek represent the entirety of the Czech Republic-based CBE Software. Okay. Pouring 3 years of development into narrative puzzle games Julia, J.L.I.A. secured an exclusive publishing deal with Lace Mamba. The game was a self-funded project without any financial support from the publisher. But then the deal quickly turned sour. I'm gonna have to drink some water and cough. Excuse me. Now, I haven't heard of CBE Software, but I have on my wish list Julia, so that was a puzzle game that I definitely did want to play. CBE Software was just one of many developers who were burned by the now defunct Lace Mamba, but unlike Daedalic Entertainment or Calabri Games, which both came to some agreement with the publisher, CBE Software says it never received a penny for its sale of its games. So who's getting the money right now if I buy Julia? Am I supporting CBE Software, or am I supporting Lace Mamba somehow?
I'll give it a shot.
And how much of this should I actually believe? Or has been actually investigated by GameIndustry.biz. It was a heavy blow to say the least, but in a strange twist of fate, Kevin and Medek were able to harness the fiasco to their benefit when they decided to remaster the game and distribute it themselves. Okay, so maybe Julia that has been enhanced edition, as it's described. Wow. Couldn't even beat the first level. Pretty pathetic. Let's see. Quote, but actually I managed to turn this thing into a good thing because when we were preparing crowdfunding for Julia Enhanced Edition, we built the whole campaign on the fact that we've been ripped off and has basically brought us a lot of publicity, maybe more than our former game did. So they used it to their own advantage, and some might accuse them of staging the whole thing if it weren't for Lace Mamba apparently screwing out other companies too.
One shot.
I wouldn't be surprised if there still are some publishers trying to do similar things on Steam, but with Steam Direct now, it makes very little sense to go with a publisher unless that publisher is offering you some major cash up front.
I'll give it a shot.
Some might argue maybe Gearbox Publishing is not giving you much for what you might be selling your game with through them. But you'd really have to get inside each individual deal and calculate whether that was true or not. Gonna play a little defensively here. Let's see. So they got 150,000 euros from Creative Europe. So, here's a paragraph. He still has concerns over Steam, however, and admits developers can no longer just rely on internal marketing of the platform to simply deliver success. I don't think Steam ever intended itself to sell itself as a storefront that was going to internally market the game to you, to players. I think that's a misunderstanding of what Steam has always been. While he admits Steam Greenlight was far from perfect, he appreciates the intent and level of quality control offered over the $100 buy-in of Steam Direct. I think if anything, Steam Direct compared to Greenlight has fixed things. Because now games that are Steam Directed just kind of disappear, where Steam Greenlight games would feel the need to constantly be around and pushed in a way so that they could get enough votes to be allowed on Steam. Like, you have a lot less pushy developers saying, hey, like our game, vote for it on Steam Direct now, because that's just not a thing.
Versus the mute.
So, what I want to do here is search Google for Julia on Steam, and when I search Julia with the periods, Google doesn't find it that way, so I'm going to type in Julia game, I guess. Get rid of that one. So yeah, we have a game on Steam from 2014 called Julia Among the Stars that came up. And it says the publisher and developer CB Software. And if I search Julia on Steam alone, that's the only game that's coming up. Nothing Julia Enhanced Edition, nothing Julia, just called Julia.
Is someone injured?
And yeah, CB Software doesn't have anything else. I actually don't recall the game being this. I thought it was something slightly different. And they want $19.99 for this game. Here we can do a little web peek. I think it would be kind of difficult to justify paying $20 for this game, honestly. And see, I can try to get a little bit deeper into it, but let's see. So yeah, I'll just double check. Julia is still on my wish list, but interesting background story from GameIndustry.biz. Something I had certainly not heard about, probably because I was not paying much attention to background like business dealings. I'm sure that there's been some other scandals and debacles. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Fighting EX Layer for PC launches November 30th. So yeah, another fighting game on the long list of fighting games that maybe one day I'll start covering and try to figure out which ones are worth covering. Alright. Draw some cards. I guess we can do a web peek of Fighting EX Layer here and see that it's looks like your standard fighting game with a lot of videos. Wow, that is a lot of videos they've got. Just wanted to scroll through the screenshots for a brief second here. So yeah, it's not out yet, but we can put it on the wish list. There almost certainly has been something else in this series. I can't really believe that this is Fighting EX Layer is the first in the series. There must be something else that was just called Fighting Layer or Fighting EX or something. Like, but I guess I really don't know what it would be. Play this, it's that. Play this, it's that. And I screwed up, I should have played this. So is there any way I can save this? 11, 12. All he has to do is like 1 damage and I lose. 1 more. Oh.
Magic shall not save you.
Is someone injured?
I have quite a lot of games actually that are making it to the wish list. I'm a little surprised. Let's see. I could potentially do this and then heal somebody if I could heal. Or I just need to do 1 more damage. So let's start with the card. Take a look at this strategy. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. See, is there anything else I even need to do? No, let's just play this. Heal them all. She's going to draw all her cards. She's going to draw 10. And that should put her in such a bad position that she'll take fatigue at least up to, if not over, her life. There we go. And we could keep on going. I think, though, there's not really a lot of reason to. Let's just open this pack and get back to ranked play, which makes a lot more sense. See, now we're at a position where it's really just, we're trying to take an hour and get through as much news as possible. It seems like some of this will probably be left over for Friday. I'm taking my sweet time. There's been some actual news that came out in the past couple of days for the video game industry. All 5 of those cards again just dusted. So now we need a druid victory because I don't want to play hunter. So let's come on, token druid and play ranked and play. We've got a game on Steam called The Lost Goblin Tower. It's too zoomed out, too simplistic looking. Like, I really am never going to give a game that looks like this the time of day. I may know this publisher, and I know... Is that Atlas or is that Attas? A-T-T-A-S. I guess it doesn't really matter. By its own appearance, this is not going to make it to the list. A Spelunky clone that doesn't look that good. $1.69 discounted. Now I have to get back to actually paying attention to playing the game because I'm playing against real people and the real people will start showing up. Matsu has an article. Nippon Ichi Software announces the original RPG Destiny Connect for the PS4 and Switch. Update 2. So apparently it's due out February 28th in 2019 in Japan. It looks definitely different from what you normally expect. Kind of a Persona style RPG. But maybe not as visually polished as Persona by quite a bit. But I think Destiny Connect might also be more kid-friendly style game. Or it's very CGI in its characterizations and how it's animated. I guess speaking of Persona, Reset Era had a bit of a flare-up of its own stupidity, where somebody tried to make this whole forum post talking about how Persona 3 or whatever the most recent Persona is a dating simulator for pedophiles because you can, as the character you're playing in the game who is a teenager, date all the other characters who are teenagers, ranging between like 15 and 17. Which, by the way, in Japan, age of consent laws, I think, would still be totally fine on some aspects, but that doesn't really matter because you're playing a character who's a teenager dating another teenager. And so there was a lot of pushback even on Reset Era going, no, you're being dumb, no, you're not considering or looking at this realistically at all, and so nobody was even defending a good percentage, I won't say vast majority, but a good percentage from what I hear wouldn't even agree with that weird puritanical ridiculous thought that really has nothing to do with anything. And then eventually the mods came in and shut down on the forum and says we do not support pedophilia, of course, because that's exactly what they're gonna do. And so I'm sure Persona 3 will soon be added to the list of all the important games that have been made and should be talked about that can't be talked about on Reset Era. I guess, though, to be fair, compared to NeoGAF, it doesn't seem like any kind of news comes out of NeoGAF at all. So I think people have probably mostly abandoned NeoGAF as at least a source of news. But Reset Era is not the replacement for NeoGAF, because it is very much like Gamma Sutra, where it is 100% in bed and in line with the thoughts and feelings of game developers and game developers only. So it just becomes this publishing arm, this advertisement forum. Reddit is a little bit better, but a lot of the stuff on Reddit too is just advertising and shilling also. In general, I think all video game news, if you want it to be at least slightly unbiased, you're going to have to go to small groups, Facebook groups, circles like that, circles of friends. As soon as any big corporation gets involved, or any large group of people gets involved, it gets taken over by people that you probably don't agree with, and that are also extremely controlling. There's really nothing wrong with being part of a forum with people that you don't 100% agree with. It's just a matter of, do they agree with free speech? And Reset Era does not agree with free speech directly, have said so. Gamma Sutra, speaking of Gamma Sutra, has a blog. Postmortem - 1 year later, I managed to ship 6,000 copies to stay in business. So this is a developer who's talking about their game that shipped 6,000 copies. Okay. I don't know if there's really anything else to take or get from that. Like 6,000 copies at $1 would be $6,000, which would be a little bit low. 6,000 copies at $60 would be $360,000 or $36,000. I don't know. Let's see. See if I can do the math here. 60 would be then 6,000, $360,000, which would be enough, I think, for one person to continue running their small indie video game business. I imagine it's somewhere in between there. You could read this article if you want to. It seems like it's not much of anything. Let's see if we can... Let's see if we can figure out what game this even is. It's called Ebony Spire Heresy, a game I've never heard of.
What to do?
Let's see, we can, I guess, maybe search Google to get back to the Steam page. Let's see, adjacent minions. Alright, how about we do this? And this. And that.
Time waits for no one.
And I think at this point we can just leave it. So this game, Ebony Spire Heresy, looks pretty awful. Yeah, it looks like a pretty awful dungeon crawler piece of garbage game. And yeah, I'm a little surprised that this actually got 6,000 people to buy it. It's rated pretty positively as a dungeon crawler, so I guess maybe by doing the right kind of advertising on things like Gamma Sutra, it didn't irritate too many people. $6.99 is quite a lot. See, I like this art style, but that's not what we're really gonna see in the game.
What to do?
You can see there's a pretty large amount of people who don't like it, but got it for free, so their reviews aren't counting. Alright, let's come back over here. One attack. And one attack.
Time waits for no one.
And let's do this. Let's see.
Find a room.
Didn't play fast enough. Yeah, Ebony Spire Heresy is definitely not making it to the wish list. So that little bit of advertisement slash self-blogging, not good enough to catch my attention. Let's see. 12 cards. Do I want to focus here and try and win, or do I want to keep on covering the news? Alright. So how are we going to do this without killing things? Do this, we kill this. We do this, we kill this. We can't. Anything else I kill does damage, so we do this. Alright, we power this one up. Get away this. Get that. Get that. Get that. In the jar. Next we have a game on Steam called Vulcan Defend the Tower, which looks like it is probably a tower defense game of some sort, but it really looks like a first-person asset flip game. Third-person shooter, actually. Open world game. I don't know, this kind of looks good enough. Good enough to at least put it on the fall list, and let's see if this really is a game or if this is just a combination of several ideas and assets. I mean, it looks like it has enough publishers. I've never heard of this publisher, Processor Game Studio, so I guess I could be picky and see if this developer has made some other games and see if it's in good company, but
Job done.
I'm seeing some gameplay now, and it looks a little bit too polished to be just an asset flip. Yep. So yeah, this will go on the fall list. We'll keep an eye, see how it is when it comes out of early access, if it comes out of early access. Man, I've got nothing here. Just gotta play everything against one character. See, if I do this, I guess that just replaces 3 of them. It doesn't replace all my mana crystals. I thought it might replace all my mana crystals. Still got a ton of news.
Mother was busy.
TechRaptor has an article. NIS America announces its final 3 PlayStation Vita physical releases. Let's see if we can get a list of what they are. I think we've already even talked about this. One of them is called The Lost Child, one of them is called Penny Pinching Princess, and the last one is The Longest 5 Minutes, Which, okay, yeah. And I wouldn't be really surprised if it turns out that, I guess we could kind of swap. Are we actually trying to do anything, or no? So we don't actually need to play anything on Druid. Let's try Zoo Warlock, and then let's try Control Priest. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that even these last 3 PlayStation Vita physical games don't actually get released, but they're probably pretty committed to it. Here's an easy one to just throw on the follow list. More of the Google Spotlight stories. This time Age of Sail is out. Although these aren't really games, they're free, they're VR events, I suppose. I don't think that there really is any interactivity to them, but I'll keep them on the follow list. Like, honestly, they might be the best thing on Steam as far as VR goes, with a few exceptions. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Ballistic that does not impress me with that menu. Yep, looks like it's a simplistic, ugly looking Asteroids clone, if I was to guess. Like, all I really need to know is that it's ugly and they want 99 cents for it. And that's good enough for me to...
In the light's name. No,
I don't wanna investigate any further. TechRaptor has an article. Valve's Steam Play whitelist now has 39 new games. I'm not 100% sure what the Steam Play whitelist is, though.
Job done.
I guess it's the games on Linux, games that can be played on Linux.
I'm fast and furious.
So far, Valve has 3,000 titles on Steam that have some kind of Linux support. Valve has stated that more titles are being added every day, with some batches of games including Steam Play support. So that there's slightly little differences between what level and what kind of support you will get. Let's see. A few notable titles on this list are Dark Souls 3, Dungeons of the Endless, South Park: The Stick of Truth, and The Curse of Monkey Island. The games that have been added to the whitelist are... Wait, is this the full list? Yes, it is. I didn't want to start reading a list that had 3,000 titles on it. Although it would be pretty insane if somebody actually published that list. So what was added was 12 Labors of Hercules 7, Fleecing the Fleece, which is a tower defense game, I believe, or a resource management game. A Raven Monologue, I kind of think I recommend this. A game called AAAA, A Reckless Disregard for Gravity, Acid Nimbus, Alien Shooter 2 Reloaded, Bullet Candy, Dark Souls 3, Dungeons of the Endless, Endless Road, Final Doom, Flat Out 2, Glass Masquerade, Hag's Castle, I'm Not a Monster, Jamestown, Lego Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars, Mega Man Legacy Collection, Mystrium, a Psych Clue game, Nidhogg Osur, the Hollywood Roast, Pac-Man Championship Edition DX Plus. Oh, that's a nice ad, certainly. Let's just go ahead and play this. And play this. Pathfinder Adventures, Picross Fairy Tale, Legend of the Mermaid, Poker Night at the Inventory 1, Primordia. It's kind of weird that they'd even give support the poker night at the inventory, because there's a high chance that by the time you get around to playing that, it might not be on sale at all on Steam, just because Telltale Games is out of business, or soon to be out of business. Primordia, September 1999. Star Wars Dark Forces, Steins Gate visual novel, Samaroo's 2, South Park The Stick of Truth, Star Explorers. Honestly, to be fair, Tech Raptor probably should point out Steins Gate a lot more than they should point out South Park The Stick of Truth.
Who dares summon me?
Let's see.
A paltry again.
And that. Star Explorers, Starless Night, The Curse of Monkey Island, The House of Da Vinci, The Room, that's the first Room game, Tiny Bridge, Rat Venture, Wupo, WUPPO, Year Walk, and Zombinis. So yeah, nice that more games are getting Linux support. But I'm not really sure you're getting a better experience on Linux. Like, what this really boils down to is, if you're a hardcore Linux person who is running Linux on their desktop and only Linux, and you want to get into games, and you don't own any games already on PC, maybe then Linux support makes sense. So you don't have to go through the hassle and frustration of installing or purchasing maybe Windows 10. Which I guess maybe at this point you would have to actually purchase Windows 10 if you bought a brand new computer that didn't come with it somehow. I don't even know how you do that. And maybe this boils down into more Chromebook support. Maybe if you bought a Chromebook really cheap and then you converted it from Chrome OS to a more open Linux service, maybe then you could play games on it. So it might be for new kids playing on PC. Like, I guess that might make some sense. Oh man, I did that wrong. I did that wrong too. Oh well. Oh well, I got a victory regardless. Let's see if we can get a bit of a victory streak going. TechRaptor has an article, Ages of Empires Castle Siege is shutting down. I did not know that there was a game called Ages of Empires Castle Siege. Is it? The quick take from TechRaptor goes, good. I've never been a fan of cheapening franchises for an easy buck, and with Microsoft's low sales this console generation, it truly looks as though they're trying to get the gaming sector back on track. Now all they have to do is either disband their store, which they won't do, or fix it, which they will try to do. If they choose option 2, Microsoft needs to beat Steam, and to do that they need to innovate, offering in-home streaming for those with a subscription, offering movies, and staying competitive in areas that they quite frankly should have already been competing in. Get rid of all of these. To begin with, mods allow people to install games wherever they want, easily accessible communities. It's a long list, but if they do it right, then Steam will finally have another competitor, which the industry sorely needed for some time. So apparently Age of Empires Castle Siege was a Windows Store only game. Like, I guess I could see if... I guess it doesn't really matter if it's shutting down. Must have been an online game too.
So many possibilities.
Do this. Play in the turn. Gematsu has an article, Miss Explosion Man is coming to the Switch on November 22nd. I don't know if Explosion Man, the prequel to Miss Explosion Man, just is included in Miss Explosion Man, or if they just kind of hate that game, or if there's something wrong with that game. Because like you can't get the original basically on anything. And it seems very weird to want to play the sequel without playing the original.
Reporting for duty.
Like, I guess maybe there's not... I guess maybe there's just not a lot of reason to need to play the first game in their minds. That definitely feels weird to me, though. And bringing it to the Switch doesn't really mean anything to me. It's like, yeah, more games are coming to the Switch, particularly older Xbox 360 arcade games and PC games. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, The Game Paradise Cruising Mix Special launches November 30th in the West.
Hello?
It's like, squelch that guy. Like, at the first look of this guy, you probably should just squelch him. They describe it as a super hyper goofy shoot 'em up game, so it's like a shoot 'em up. I'm not interested in really playing shoot 'em ups, but okay. When it comes to Steam and I see that it's on Steam, I'll give it another look.
So many
it's a free update to owners with the original version also, which is nice. Okay, so what I want to do would be to play this and then play this, but I screwed up because I don't have a freaking coin. So let's just play this and then play this. That was played very poorly. Gematsu has another article, Dirt Rally 2.0 Day 1 edition and pre-order bonuses have been announced. I guess Dirt Rally 2.0 has already been announced itself. It's coming out for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC February 26, 2019. Alright. So, I can at best do this. Play this.
Science.
And
Crystallize.
do that. We have a game on Steam called Beneath the Surface, which looks like it's a free-to-play fishing simulator, idle game, casual game. It's a little too simplistic. It seems like all that happens is the background changes as time goes forward. It's free, so you know, just because it's free, I think I might put it on the wish list. It's not selling itself as anything besides just a simplistic, stupid simulation of ice fishing. Let's see what else. I can't believe it's taken this long to get to this, but TechRaptor has an article. Welcome back, Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Red Alert remasters have been announced after EA totally tried to make the mobile game that was a Command & Conquer game and spit basically on the history of the Command & Conquer series. So EA's producer Jim Basella has announced it on the R Command & Conquer subreddit. Let's see, 2 remastered titles are currently in the works. I guess that's nice and all, but it's possibly also something that's not going to actually turn into sales, because it is a little questionable. Like, is this going to be on EA Origin or is this coming to Steam?
Put your faith in the light.
I think I own Red Alert on Steam. I don't think the original game is on Steam. So, do I get this remaster at a discount, or do I have to pay the same price as everybody else? I would suspect I have to pay the same price as everybody else, because I bet most people who would be interested in playing Command & Conquer probably already own at least Command & Conquer Red Alert. Also, covering 1 and Red Alert does not cover some of the DLC, some of the added additions, Tiberian Sun also. So while this sounds very exciting, the proof is going to be in the pudding as far as how this really turns out as an experience. Let's see. Okay. And there really aren't any screenshots or anything to look at or get hyped on. And this puts me in a kind of weird position because we've now gone about an hour, so we could play like maybe one more game, and then at that point I think we're gonna just end this stream, and I'm gonna leave a lot of the games that we haven't covered for the next stream. In fact, I need to actually stop talking about games, and I need to instead be talking about news. And then we'll come back and start covering games again once we've made sure all the news has been talked about. Because yes, there's still a lot of news. Let's try one last game on Control Priest and then we'll be wrapped up. Like, Gamma Sutra has the same news article about THQ Nordic requiring Coffee Stain and Bugbear Entertainment. We've already talked about that, we don't need to again.
Anduin versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine.
The light shall bring victory.
Let's see, what do we need? Trade. Let's trade all that. TechRaptor has an article, Jumping for Joy with Jack B. Nimble, which looks like it is a Game Boy style game that, man, I'm just not interested in at all. Like, anything with that grayscale look on it, anything that looks like this, I just don't want to play. I'm sorry, gosh, just put some color in your game. That's all it has to be. It could be the same pixelated art styles, zoomed out camera that is typical from a Game Boy game. Sure, but just put some color in it. Even the Game Boy Color did that. Like, we're gonna start seeing mods and DLC to put color into some of these games that like, pay another $5 to have color in your game you already bought. Gematsu has an article, Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World, Dungeon RPG, launches March 28th, 2019 in Japan. Now, Konosuba is an anime in the isekai standard that's really popular right about now, where somebody manages to get taken off to another world and have an adventure there. So this male protagonist ends up in this like fantasy dungeon RPG world. He's got all these harem of girls that follow him and continue down the track of the game. It's kind of standard fare stuff, but it does have that anime tie-in, so when this game comes out, if it comes out to the West, which it very well might, it's big enough, that there's room there, certainly, for some people who would be willing to buy or play that game. So we're getting a little bit of a sneak peek. Let's see if it comes to the West. TechRaptor has an article, Amazon may have leaked Sunset Overdrive PC's release date. I'm not sure if there was actually a guarantee or anybody had even said that Sunset Overdrive was coming to PC, but according to this leak, it's coming out November 16th, 2018, which would be tomorrow. So if you're watching this live, we'll see, I guess, tomorrow whether Sunset Overdrive shows up on Steam. Or I'll talk about it on Friday if I can make it to do all the news on Friday. Oh, that was probably not the best way to use that card. Here's a Chinese only game. I can close that immediately because I can't talk about it. Gamma Sutra has an article that looks kind of interesting. Let's see. Silence and draw a card. Double that health. Let's see, I can play and attack now. And that's probably the best way to do this.
I comply. I comply.
So yeah, Gamma Sutra has an article. Senators asked the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, to investigate malicious ads in apps geared for kids. Several senators have urged the FTC to investigate the practice of monetizing kids' mobile games and apps, which usually publish under the guise of being educational or 100% free, but are actually riddled with advertisements. Ads in mobile games aren't a new phenomena. It continues to go on. I'll leave it at that. ... We all know ads suck. And ads aimed at kids suck. Speaking of ads aimed at kids, Jam City signs a multi-year deal developing game development partnership with Disney. So the mobile studio Jam City is going to be developing Disney games, or games and based on the characters and stories from both Disney and Pixar. They'll kick off the partnership by creating an all-new in-game based on the upcoming sequel to Frozen, before following it up with more titles based on Disney's quote most popular franchises. So yeah, that's I guess not super surprising, because Disney did shut down its own internal game development studio. TechRaptor has an article, Marvel's Spider-Man Turf Wars DLC launches November 20th. It's an interesting question. Does anybody really still play Spider-Man at this point, or has everybody moved off and forgotten about it, moved on to Red Dead Redemption 2 or something else? This is probably going to be an interesting experiment on just why DLC should not be a thing. But they got their money already through season passes, so that is interesting. GameIndustry.biz has an article, The Good and Bad of Making Your Side Project a Day Job. Funnersoft's Lester Bloom talks about leaving ArenaNet after a career in AAA to bet on himself with the VR tower defense game Planar Tector, which probably was not a good move in my opinion if I was just to guess without reading this article. Leave that article alone now. GameIndustry.biz has the same article, Age of Empires Castle Siege, to be taken offline next year, to be shut down in May after 4.5 years on mobile and Windows. Let's see, we're just trying to finish all of this. Some very good news. The California man pleads guilty to fatal swatting charge. Quote, his reasons were trivial and his disregard for the safety of other people was staggering, says the U.S. attorney. This is a 25-year-old California man. I guess that does fall under the category of man. I was thinking they were saying man, but he was probably 18. 25, wow, 7 years out of high school and still doing something that wouldn't have been acceptable, well, ever. But I'm glad to see some justice here. I'd still very much want to see all of the United States police to be better trained to respond to these swatting calls and not fall for them and not end up hurting people or putting people's lives in danger. GameIndustry.biz has another article. The U.S. Army is launching an esports team as a recruiting effort. The program is intended to help young people see soldiers in a different light and help the Army address the growing disconnect with society. I could get political here and say nobody should see soldiers in a different light, and people would be better off if they were disconnected with society, so that Army doesn't seem like a viable option. It would be a wonderful thing if every country's army was completely 100% understaffed and nobody could go to war because nobody was willing to fight. Poverty is by far the #1 reason why people join the U.S. Army. So if we could solve poverty, we might solve war in a lot of cases. And there's also a factor here where Army recruiters often lie, and so I could see a lot of Army recruiters using this esports team as a lie, saying, hey, if you sign on here, sign this contract you don't understand at 17 years old, they will have you sign away your life basically forever. We'll get you on the esports team. No, you won't. They do the same thing about the Marines and the Green Berets and things like that. It's like, no, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen at all. If you do want to be in the Army, I will say, you should definitely go in as an officer and go via an ROTC campaign. Do not go in as an enlisted man. That is not the way to make a military career. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Blazing Chrome launches for the PS4, Switch, and PC in early 2019. So this game I've never heard of, Blazing Chrome. Might be interesting when it comes out. It's a little pre-hype. He has a good lesson to learn also. GameIndustry.biz has an article, cryptocurrency is, quote, not for startups anymore. The Reality Gaming co-founder Tony Pence warns that the costs around initial coin offerings have skyrocketed in the last year. Well, those initial coin offerings were always a scam. But okay, this person who was in the scam says it's not a good scam anymore, is pretty much what I get from that. Gematsu has an article, and I'm sorry if we're just sitting here doing nothing, but I really do want to cover the news, and there's only a couple more. Dragon Quest Builders 2 demo launches December 6th in Japan. A bulletin board online element and a builder pencil tool have been revealed. for anybody interested in Dragon Quest Builders 2. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Tencent's revenues and profits up, but the games division is still suffering. PC and online games revenue drop as users shift to mobile. Yeah, Tencent's not doing great. Whereas GameIndustry.biz has a different article, THQ Nordic's net sales up 1,403% to 139.5 million. Re-releases and deep silver titles drive record performance for the publisher. So, I mean, if you needed a number on how big THQ Nordic is growing, they increased their sales by 1,403%, which sounds like a good thing, but it's setting a very high platform for investors, and it potentially puts them in a point where if they do have shareholders, their shareholders are going to say, why aren't you increasing by 1,500% next year? You did it one year, why can't you do it again? Do it again, do it again, every year, do it again, make more profit, make more profit. And eventually that's going to require THQ Nordic to invest and make gambles that are going to not pay off, and then it just is going to be a house of cards that collapses. At least that's my fear. Gamasutra has a listing, Get a Job, Play4 Corporation is looking for a UI designer. That's in McKinney, Texas. If you're interested, user interface designer. Just wanted to mention this TechRaptor article, The Sims 4 patch updates, woohoo in leaf piles and more. So I'm kind of surprised The Sims 4 is still getting patches, but alright. And let's see, I think we just have other games. There's one more article. Get a Job, Velen Studios is hiring a lead producer. That is in Troy, New York. And that puts me at the Humble Bundle, and I'm not going to bother to look at the Twitter feed. The Humble Bundle, let's see, as far as Games Bundle, has the Dystopian Bundle, which has some games I'd like to get, but they're still a little too expensive, particularly 60 seconds. So if somebody had an extra copy of that from the Humble Bundle and wanted to send that to me through Twitter or direct message, I'd be very happy. I suppose I would be a remiss pervert to not point out the Darkness Sci-Fi and Sex Comic Book Bundle, which I believe is mostly Valiant Comics. And yeah, but they're digital comics, and all these comic bundles really don't strike me as something you really want to do. Like the Postal Comic Volume 1 and 2, Sunstone Volume 1, I'd recommend Sunstone, from what I've seen of it. And then several other things, Aphrodite Volume 1, Bloodstain Volume 1, The Darkness, Shadows, and the Flame. And see, they made a video game, I think based on The Darkness, but it wasn't a finished series. Then if you pay $5 more, you get a bunch of Witchblade issues, like Witchblade issue 10, 180, 181. I don't understand why there would be such a big jump there. Like, I'd like to read the Witchblade series, but it's probably way too much effort. And so you get Sunstone Volume 2 and 3 if you pay over a certain amount. And then if you pay 15 more, you get some more Darkness issues, and Aphrodite issues, more Sunstone Volume 4 through 5. I'm not 100% sure any of these comics actually, though, are finished. And that's always a problem with comics, is that a lot of them are designed to not be finished. As for the games on the Dystopian, if I haven't mentioned them, Tokyo 42, Distrust, Beholder, Orwell, Keeping an Eye on You. If you pay more than the average of $4.79, you'll get 60 seconds. which is the one I'm most interested in, Rain World, and then Orwell Ignorance of Strength, which is the sequel. And then if you pay $15 or more, you get Observer. Probably not terrible deals, particularly when you know that 60 Seconds really never goes on sale. But yeah, that's where we're going to end this recording. It's pretty good recording. We did 3 episodes. We got some of the games covered, but we've got a lot left over for Friday. So hopefully between this Wednesday and Friday, not too many new games come out. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. It helps me with YouTube and tells them that my videos are worth watching. If you want a friend to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you would like to support me, and I'd ask that you do, you can support me down below via Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list, or just a game you'd like to see me cover. Or if you don't want to decide, you can also gift gift cards. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.